Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. This is gonna be a weird video if you're new, but welcome if you're new. This is Homeschool at Heart. My name is Leah Simpson. This is my husband Tim.
Hello.
And today we're gonna be doing I guess a Q&A kind of about my IIH diagnosis. All right, so we're gonna jump in. I have 10 kind of frequently asked questions. I asked on my Instagram about questions that people had for me about anything, and I had a lot of questions about IIH, which is Idiopathic Intracranial Hypertension. If you don't know what that is, it's a rare brain condition that I was just recently diagnosed with, and I released a video very recently about this condition and being diagnosed and how all of that happened. So if you want to watch that video, is about 35 minutes long. It was probably the longest video on my channel. You can go back and watch that. I'll link it in the description box of this video, but I thought I would have Tim, my husband, guest star in this video with me to answer some of these questions. Actually, one of them is a question specifically, I think, for Tim, so he's going to be weighing in on some of these questions because this is kind of like a family issue and not just a me issue. So we'll go ahead and get started.
All right.
So, so just real quick, IIH, Idiopathic Intercranial Hypertension, is basically, if you have never heard of this before, my brain thinks it has a tumor, but it does not have a tumor. It has an excess of the fluid that your brain floats around in. So it can't get out of my head. It has no way to drain out, basically. They don't know why that's happening, which is why it's idiopathic. So it's basically, there's not enough room in there. And so that's why I'm having all of the brain tumor symptoms without having an actual tumor. So when we're talking about all these things, if you're wondering what the heck we're talking about, that's the gist of the condition. So that's most of what we're catching you up on if this is your first time here. So, all right, so we're gonna go ahead and start. Is IIH fatal? I'll let you answer.
It can be when it's in the really bad end of it. What Leah's been dealing with is the lower end of the amount of pressure, and that is not. So most of the time, I don't know, maybe 90% of the time, you would say no, it's not fatal. It might be the disease itself is not fatal, but there might be like a symptom, something that it triggers. So a stroke or a seizure or something else that happens. That
basically, if it is left untreated, it can be, but since mine is being treated, the answer is no. I'm not gonna die from this. I could possibly die from some things related to it, but it would be a long time down the road. So I'm not in any danger of anything happening to me anytime soon. So if that is like the biggest question, that the most often asked question that we have been getting, and I'm sorry that I did not say that specifically in my last video. No, it's not going to kill me, and specifically not anytime soon.
So if the doctors have said if the headaches are severe or just incredibly bad, that you go to the emergency room. Mm-hmm. And they'll treat any kind of a problem there. But we haven't had to do that yet.
And I do have an aneurysm. The aneurysm is actually unrelated to the IIH. It is probably related to another genetic thing that I have, well, that I possibly have that's not like actually been diagnosed. And it's very small, and
they're just watching.
Surgeon is unconcerned with it, so
Yeah.
we're going to. I'll talk about it later, but they're gonna do a procedure. They're gonna check it out. It's gonna be fine. Next question is, what do the headaches feel like? So this is an interesting question because I actually kept a log for a couple of months. Every day I kind of like went through like the pain scale, and it was between like a 4 and an 8 on the pain scale, and like wrote down what kind of a headache they were. So they're pressure headaches because I have too much pressure inside of my head. So like if you imagine it, it just really feels like someone's actually squeezing my head. Most of the headache feels like it's either in the front of my head or on the right side of my head, but it kind of feels like if you squeeze a balloon and like it just feels like it's gonna pop. That's kind of what it feels like. I will sometimes joke about my brain feeling like my head feels like it's going to explode and there's just going to be brain everywhere. So if you can't hear me talking about that, I think it's funny. He doesn't think it's funny. So it's IIH humor. If you were a person with IIH, you would think it was funny. So that's basically it. My right eye often feels like it is going to pop out of my head, but that's kind of gross. Sorry. So next question, what is my tinnitus like, and can I still hear out of that ear? So everything is very right-sided with this for me, which is actually where all of the veins that are collapsed on my head are. So that's why we're thinking that probably I can get away with a stent and not a shunt. We're hoping. My tinnitus here, I hear my heartbeat and I can actually feel it inside of my ear all of the time, like 100% of the time. I did have some relief for almost 24 hours, I would say, almost 24 hours when I had my lumbar puncture. That was wild because I didn't even like, I went, I can hear, because typically the tinnitus is so loud that I can't hear anything else out of this ear besides my heartbeat. And if you've been around here, this space for a while, you would know that I suffer with sometimes debilitating anxiety as well. And anytime that my anxiety gets bad and I start to have a panic attack, my heart rate gets faster, and I can hear that in my ear, which does not help the onset of a panic attack. It actually makes it come on faster. So I could hear out of this ear normally for that 24 hours right after the lumbar puncture. So I'm not deaf in this ear. I just only can hear my heartbeat most of the time right now. I'm hoping that with continued treatment that I will get the hearing back in this ear. So, and actually there are support groups for people with this kind of tinnitus, and it's wild, these poor people. Just as a note, if your ENT says that there's nothing they can do for you, I would encourage you to ask for a referral to a neurologist or a neurosurgeon, because that was like one of the first things that I said to my neurosurgeon was, I have this pulsating tinnitus in my ear and I have had it for 9 years. And he said, oh, you don't have to live like that. We can fix that. even if it isn't related to IIH. And he was serious, guys, serious. He was like, I'm gonna fix it. So,
definitely worth.
It's worth checking it out. It's worth checking into. So, the life expectancy. What's the life expectancy of someone with IIH? This was one of the first things we looked into, and it's kind of shocking. So
from the condition itself is a normal life expectancy.
But what if you Google it?
But if you Google it, you get a much lower one because of how it makes you feel to have that, and it's
46.
It's because people will tend to end their own life because it's just they feel horrible. The medication can make you feel really bad.
Sometimes it's accidental. Sometimes you overdose because you're so desperate to like feel better that you're just taking too much medication, and it's an accidental.
The pain is pretty bad. The headaches. So if you're good about your medication and your doctors are on a good treatment plan like they are for Leah, and we're seeing a psychologist or psychiatrist, I'm not sure the title, but they have her on a medication for her anxiety and dealing with the onset of those different mental issues, then it.
Yeah, well,
you just
and
have to be honest with everybody and make sure that you're taking your medication in the right amounts.
And that you're dealing with the side effects from, like, the Topamax, the main medication that's dealing with the pressure in my head, also causes severe depression issues. So I wasn't really having a lot of depression per se before I was taking that, but once I started taking that, I was having depression as well as the anxiety, and so that was something that we definitely had to deal with. So that is a huge issue. So if you have this problem, this disease, then you need to definitely watch out for that, because that's a side effect, I think, of both of the major. I think it's also a side effect of Diamox, but I'm not entirely sure because I don't take that one. But for the Topamax, it for sure is a side effect, and you need to just make sure you watch out for that. So, but if you Google it, the life expectancy of a person with IIH is 46. I am 42, so that was a little stressful when they're like, oh, we think you have IIH. So of course I go home and I Google it. We've learned Google is not my friend. Through this whole thing, my best friend keeps saying, stop Googling, stop Googling. You've got to stop that. Because every time I come up with new research things, he's like, you Googled, stop that. You've got to quit. Anyway, the next one is, what is my weirdest symptom? Do you have a guess?
No.
No guesses.
I don't know.
This one has not, well, I think it has actually been with me for a while, but I just realized it a couple of weeks ago. On my highest high pressure days, have cerebral spinal fluid that will drip out of my eyes.
I should have guessed them.
Sometimes my nose, and sometimes down the back of my throat. It's disgusting. So that is the weirdest one. Also, something that's odd to me is that my right shoulder will hurt. It seems like a weird thing. But there's a lot of things that, as I research more, things that I would think were completely unrelated to this disease are related. I have struggled for many, many years, like 17 years, 18 years almost, with back pain. Could completely be related to this. disease. My anxiety could be related to it. All kinds of things. All could be symptoms of this high pressure head situation. So I don't know. We'll see what happens when we have the surgery and things try to calm down. So, but yes, having spinal fluid leaking out of my eyes is definitely the weirdest symptom. All right, so this is your question. How is Tim doing with my diagnosis?
Well, I tend to have kind of two modes where I am just overwhelmed and just kind of, want to curl up in the fetal position and cry. That I keep to myself, sort of thing. Most of the time, I'm just in, okay, let's just take a deep breath, relax, try to rest in the Lord for the next day, and wait until we get the information that we need to be able to make the next decision. And a little bit of, just trying to chip in a little more. Leah hasn't asked for a lot of that. That may be coming more with after some of the procedures. She might not be able to do as much. But just trying to feel like I'm contributing and helping out. But overall, it's just very overwhelming, and you just feel very hopeless as a spouse. The person you care about most in the world is in this horrible pain and going through this horrible thing, and there's just so little that you can do. And so it feels pretty overwhelming. So I try to just kind of push it off and move on to the next thing. And so I guess that's not a very direct answer, but I guess that's about as honest as I can be.
No, I think that's good. He's been amazing, and his boss has been amazing about all of this too. He's been with me at every single appointment.
I have, not my boss.
That's true. His boss has not been at all the appointments, but has allowed Tim to be at all of the appointments.
Yes.
So he's used up almost all of his sick time. So my mom is going to go with me to some appointments coming up as we're getting into some longer procedure type things that would require you to just sit around for hours and hours. Those kinds of things. We had that one eye appointment that was the never ending eye appointment where they didn't even let you stay with me for a lot of it. It was... Anyway, he's been super supportive and has, been very positive, sometimes more positive than I probably wanted him to be. I sometimes go, I can't, stop it. But then he kind of pivots and goes, okay, well, let's just, just say what you need to say and just get it out there. But how do you think the kids are doing? Because it's also kind of it's a lot of how is everybody doing with all of the things?
I think the kids are good. We've insulated them from some of the bigger things. Just trying to keep positive for them. And
yeah, until we knew really what we were dealing with, we didn't tell them very much at all. It was just, Mommy's having headaches. We're going to the doctor to figure out why. Now that we know I'm going to be okay, they get to know more things. Beth, our oldest, her biggest concern seems to be whether or not I have the surgery that causes me to have to shave my head and not have hair anymore. So
I think part of that's because you would really be sad if you had to have that happen too. So.
I would not love it if I had to shave my head. I would really like to keep my hair. I feel like that's common a female issue though. I have good days and bad days with it. Kind of like with same as, you know, physically I have good days and bad days. Yesterday was a bad day for me. Today is a better day. It's not a great day. I'm still having a lot of like dizziness right now. I kind of am having enough of a headache that after I get done filming this video, I'm gonna go lay down. It's usually that I have higher pressure late afternoon and then around the time that I'd want to like go lay down for bed anyway. So that I just, you know, I was just talking to Tim that we're kind of in a holding pattern right now. We have about another 5-week wait until the next thing happens, and so it's kind of just, it just feels like nothing's gonna happen right now, so why worry about anything, kind of. At least that's how it feels today.
Yeah.
You might find me answering differently tomorrow about how I'm doing. Tomorrow I might just be frustrated and sad. This feels lonely a lot, I guess. I like worry that I'm gonna be, you know, not able to do a lot of the things that I typically do, and that's gonna kind of cause me to be like out of sight, out of mind for a lot of people. So I do worry about that, and I don't know if that's like, I mean, not that it wouldn't be valid, because I don't feel like my fears wouldn't be valid, but you know, I don't know if it's like a quote unquote irrational fear. But that's, you know, something that's like kind of been on my mind. I do a lot of community theater, and that's where I feel like a lot of my relationships are. And I feel like at other times of my life, I have had to like kind of come away from that a little bit, and have felt like I was, you know, kind of out of their minds for a while. So it just feels like that's gonna maybe be the case again, and I hope not, but it might be, and that's gonna have to just be okay. I'll just have to adapt. And I am thankful though for my church family and my relatives, both Tim's family, my family, our families. And I do know that we won't get like left alone, but it just is a concern of mine that, you know, things that we have been doing more recently will just kind of fall by the wayside. So anyway, that was a much longer answer than I intended to give, but we're trying to be transparent. So, next question, are we still planning to homeschool? Yes, we are. I don't have any plans to send the kids to school. I am planning to continue to homeschool my kids. I am hoping that things go smoothly with all of the procedures and things that are coming up. The next procedure is gonna happen the first week of school, so that's not ideal, but it is what it is. Thankfully, I have a husband who is very well educated and can help me with some things. I have a mother who homeschooled all 4 of her children and can help, and is willing to help with my kids' education. And we're just gonna trust the Lord and see.
Friends that have offered to.
Yes, we do have a couple of friends who have offered to let the kids do schoolwork at their house, and help them do some tutoring if need be.
So maybe a modified beginning of school. She can handle more of the lessons, and then they can do more of the other work. So we'll just take it a day at a time and see how it goes. But yeah, definitely good at homeschool.
So, and we homeschool through a charter school, and the charter school is both of the gals that help us with the charter school, our contacts through the school, are really great about if we need something and if we have a medical problem, then, we can modify things. They're really great about that. I am not concerned about the school. I definitely am more concerned about the kids' education than I am about the school. They're not my concern at all. They're going to be more worried about our lives and how we are doing. So we're thankful to have this particular situation that we're in. So what are the possible complications of IIH? So the most immediate complication of IIH, and I am not in any actual immediate danger of this because we had it checked out, is blindness. About 15% of people with this disease go blind completely. But they caught this quickly enough that there's not any significant damage to the nerves behind my eyes.
So seeing an ophthalmologist is
yes, crucial.
An eye doctor, not just the one who checks your, makes your glasses.
Yes.
But an actual physician that treats eyes.
Yes, and if you can specifically see a neuro-ophthalmologist, then that is preferable because they have all of the specific equipment that can see all the way back to the very back of your nerves. That's preferable to just a regular ophthalmologist, although they can see if you have swelling of your nerves through just dilating your eyes. So we did all of those tests. That was the longest appointment of my entire life, maybe. It was 4 hours.
Yeah.
It was so long.
But that was the first thing. The first appointment was with the neurologist, and he was very good about, okay, make sure you get this appointment to get that checked. And then it's also good to see a neurosurgeon.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yes. So see all of them. Any appointment that they suggest you see them all. Neurosurgeon, the neurologist, the neuro-ophthalmologist. If you have this condition, see them all of them. You can also have, because of the pressure inside of your head, you can also have seizures, and you can also have a stroke. So, but all of those things are really if this goes untreated. So it's not really something that I'm looking at. I'm not really worried about having those things happen because I've got several doctors who are really on top of things, and they're really working hard to make sure that I stay well and safe. So I am not worried about any of those things happening anytime soon. So the next step in my treatment.
So procedure, angiogram.
Yep. The next thing is the angiogram. It's a cerebral angiogram. So not usually when you hear about angiograms, it's for your heart. Mine is for my head. So that is going to be it's going to be the last Tuesday of August, which I think is the 26th or 28th. I'm not sure. It's the last week of August, and that procedure is going to be interesting. It is an outpatient procedure, so I don't have to stay at the hospital overnight, but I do have to go in around 10 a.m. and then it'll be an all-day situation. So The procedure itself only lasts about 90 minutes, but they will go in through my femoral arteries, I think is the artery.
I think that's what
It's
they
the
said.
artery in your leg. So they'll do both sides because they're going to be looking at the veins in the back of my neck. So they'll insert like a little camera through the artery in my right leg, and they'll go up all the way through the arteries in my whole body, go up into my brain, and they're going to be checking out those, and then they're going to do a pressure reading as they come back out. I'll be awake for the whole thing. So they're going to give me some local anesthetic for the actual incision and insertion, and then they'll give me some pain medication so I don't really feel so much of them, threading the catheter all the way up through my body. So depending on what pressure reading they find with that, they will determine whether I qualify for a stent, which is a little tube that will open up the vein in the back of my head that is flattened, or whether I will have to have a shunt, which is the open procedure where they will shave my head and drill a couple of holes in my head and put the tubing in to drain into my abdomen. So we'll see what happens with all of that.
So what they're seeing with this procedure is the pressure on either side of the narrowing.
Right.
And so if the pressure on the side of her brain is higher and the pressure on the bottom side of the narrowing is less, then they'll see that if they were to expand that, they could even out that pressure, and it would be a likely candidate. She'd be a likely candidate for a stent.
Thank you. And then they'll do the left side to check out the aneurysm that's behind my left eye. So that was part of why he wanted to do an angiogram and not just go straight for the shunt.
Or the stent.
Right.
Yeah.
He wanted to be able to make sure that we felt good about
what
was going on with that aneurysm and give us the choice if we wanted the choice on which surgery we do. All right, last one. What can we pray about?
Just patience, strength, that we keep relying on the Lord for things.
For me, it's kind of peace about school. I am like a lot less concerned right at this moment about what's going to happen with my health than what's going to happen with the kids' school. That's the thing that's like stressing me out like the most, because all of this is going to happen like right as school is starting. So, I'm going to just say it. I'm a control freak. I don't like that I'm going to have to like really relinquish control of of this. The kids' schooling is important to me. It's important to Tim. I'm not saying it isn't, but I am the one that does it. So, I'm the one who makes like the bulk of the decisions about it. I'm the one who's like in the trenches day in and day out with it. I am the one who teaches every lesson. I am the one who grades every paper. I mean, not like grades, but like corrects all of the things. I'm the one who goes over all of the things with them. They're just used to the way that I do things. And so it's hard for me to think about handing that over to someone else and having somebody else do those things with the kids. So I like almost feel a little bit jealous of it already, and it hasn't even happened yet. So I don't know. It's one more school year that I just like watch those I watch the minutes just like ticking down as the kids get older, and I don't like that I'll be missing out on that time, I think. So, but you know, I it's not like I'll not see them. It's just that I wouldn't be sitting next to them while they do math. It would be, you know, Tim or my mom doing that, or, you know, a couple of other friends. So anyway, it's just, you can pray for me and my control issues that I would be okay with resting and letting my body heal while somebody else does that particular work, if that's what needs to happen. It may not need to happen. It may be fine. But if I, you know, have brain surgery with, you know, holes in my head, I will probably need to not be doing math with my 9-year-old. So anyway, I think that is it.
I just add that, you know, I do believe in a big God that has lots of power and can do whatever he wants. And if you feel like praying for a complete healing, I would covet that as well. And we'll trust God for the outcome, and won't we'll think of him just the same if he chooses not to do that. But I'd love it if that was his choice too. So feel free.
Alrighty. Thanks for doing this with me.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks guys for watching. We'll see you in our next one. Well, he probably won't be around in the next one, but I'll see you in the next one. Okay, Tim has a funny story for you guys.
So, yeah, this will only be funny, I think, for people that have experienced something similar. But so we go into the doctor, and they're trying to explain what this is.
The first time we see this doctor.
Yeah.
Okay, also, what is my doctor's name? The surgeon. The neurosurgeon.
Dr. Dye.
His name is Dr. Dye.
Dr. Dye. So you would think might get that changed, but so excuse me. So Dr. Dye is trying to explain what these, you know, big words mean. You know, so idiopathic. What in the world is idiopathic? And so he tries to break it down for us, and he says, okay, so what idiopathic means in just the simplest terms is we have no idea what causes this.
And he's the expert, guys.
Okay. Thanks. So much so that
Southern California's expert.
That they gave it the name. We don't know. I have no idea. So that's our funny story for you. Yeah. I thought that was just very funny. And our battery's about to die, so we're gonna go. But thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.